Welcome to a reading of Maine Girl. I am Deborah McLaughlin. I wrote this collection and I will be the reader. I hope you enjoy my poems and the beautiful photographs that accompany them. This collection is inspired by the grand state of Maine, where I very happily spent the first 10 years of my life. These words from the song by Roger Vinton Snow express how I feel decades later and many miles away. He wrote, "Should fate unkind send us to roam, the scent of the fragrant pines, the tang of the salty sea will call us home." Maine Girl begins with a poem titled Remembering the Pines. Memory treads the needled bed beneath cathedral pines. How towering deep the pillowed hush, latticed boughs mincing sunlight into dusty biblical shafts. Decades later, this wandering Maine girl still pauses, faint linger of pinecone pitch on wrinkling hands, recalling the evergreen promise of profound eternity. Loon Tune. Trilling weave of bird call and moonlight glides on shivered lake to my shore. A resting thought of who and where I am, solitary together at peace, no after, no before. Deep winter on the farm. Always, only, and forever snow. No memory or possibility of spring. Pitiless piling of moisture by wind and man. Arctic howl bites bone and blood shivers, bluing digits numbed by mercury's tumble. Relentless white punctuated only by skeleton snow fences and red flags on car antennas, signaling danger to bundled school kids, pounding mittens to keep warm as they wait for the bus behind muffling mountains left by giant plows. Icicles of sounds frozen in memory, shrieking sled down the roof of the potato barn, scraping through to the ice on the pond, skating on raspy double-edged blades, boots crunch in the crystalline night. Dad returns home after a big storm. From high atop a towering snowbank, I watch as my parents dig blind to meet, directing, "More to the left, Mom. Hey, I think I can see spring from up here." "40-Mile Woods." The Haynesville woods from the interstate hide old, deep, and dark ways, but I see their truth. 40 miles of back road hills and turns, sorrow etched in ice each milepost. Two I know too well. The one at Santa Claus Hill, where my uncle's truck brakes failed and left him lifelong lame. And the one where my grandparents died, tearful childhood Christmas Eve. Our family's toll, a wreck beneath hushed pines, remembered passing. Fiddleheads. Succulent buds spring fresh from waking earth, coiled tight and furry sweatered against night's chill. Muted gray-green promise at long winter's end that summer too will unfurl beneath unbooted feet. It's time for Maine folk, shivering ostriches of the north, to lift their heads from the snow and stretch up smiling, to bask in the fleeting warmth of longer days. Memory of moose. Mostly memory of moose is myth. Stories told by summer bonfires of antlered menaces bellowing charge. Tall tales about the huge stuffed head above the Y Camp's rocky hearth. But one memory of moose is mine and true, from girlhood's past unfaded. While trolling from a boat midstream, drifting through the peaceful pines, a single shot cracked loud and lethal. Off from the right dense forest bank came anguished howl of giant's pain. Then answering close by on the left, a bull moose tore through tangled brush, majestic grace in headlong motion. His fearless ford to maiden fate we witnessed, awestruck frozen. The splendor in our wake receded until a final hail of shots mortified. Confounding remembrance still. First lobster. At 6, I knew what I wanted. My very own lobster to eat. No mere claw from Mom's. Expensive child, my father groaned, but smiling at the inevitable. Any Maine girl worth her sea salt wouldn't want an ounce less than 1 pound boiled red, buttered within sight of surf, perfumed with tide-borne kelp. Seagulls shrieked yes, a fairy horn salute. Proud, he said, sure. Potato picking. No new clothes for school start back then. Not long, we knew, until the 3-week break, when every able hand, soft or calloused, headed to the fields, racing the first snow to pick potatoes, baskets to barrels, dawn to dusk. Back-breaking work, but honest, beside migrant workers, a quarter a barrel added up sorely but proudly, to shiny shoes and warm gloves and sweaters. Farmers' wives in roadside stands sprouted overnight, selling new potatoes with friendly smiles. Then, hard times harvest of auction signs. Tired old farmers got done. Few took their place. Too rough a row to hoe, youth would say when leaving. Many to return each July for a festival of memories, amidst a rustic blossom's aching beauty. The Duchess of No Trout. Duchess would wade in summer streams amidst darting trout of no consequence. Her concern instead with animals come to drink, faint proof in scents and prints along the muddy banks. Alert, she'd splash to every rustle in the brush, the endless joy of maybe a moose. When Dad had put on his waders, when he'd read the pools and eddies and chosen the right fly, time would come for dog's play to cease. A whistle and one slap on his left leg. Out on the left bank in quiet she would lie, in swaying shafts of sifted sunlight. Later, cold enough and with trout to cook or not, 2 slaps okay to frolic before heading home. Rising slowly with a long contented stretch, enough a quenching drink at stream's edge. Furry reflection shimmering in the shallows, elusive trout swimming in dog's dewy eyes. Something to yak about. Strange horse, curiously partial to engines, ears perked to every distant car's call. One window for its coming, one for its going, tireless tally from his corner stall. One frigid winter morn, windows laced with ice, Pat, hearing but not seeing, was phased, stuck his head through one pane then two, cut and bloodied his determined gazed. Repairs lasted only till the next hoary frost. Uncle Homer shrugged, leaving stubborn horse his view from the coldest stall out on the state road. Gave the neighbors something to yak about, too. Not just cars, Pat fancied, but some appliances. My mom found out one bright spring day, vacuuming with the windows wide open when Pat came calling in his nosy way. A good laugh that got in Mapleton. Catfish. Shudder the catfish, deeply anchored nemesis of childhood fishing trips on Eagle Lake and otherwheres. Always first they were to take my bait, sluggish tug on the line, and I'd know I'd caught another whiskered fiend. Get your line off bottom, Dad would say. I'd surely try, but they seemed to know this little girl was a real cat person. They'd take turns over the gunwale, gasping grayly in the bottom of the boat, them out of water, me out of sorts. Their luck, we had a deal, Dad and I. He'd free each wretch from my hook and toss them back with, try again. Another worm and cast, another chance, daydreaming dogfish and micefish, going home happy with even a perch. In praise of maples. Canada close and clearly wise, its flag with noble leaf, proof enough to this child's eyes, no need for more belief. The welcome flight of whirlybirds, playful summery delights, descend in softly spinning herds, how teasingly they light. Soon fiery colors warm the chill of autumn's darkening day, then lay a carpet purposeful to decorate the way. But best of all, the sap that brings at winter's end sweet gift, a sugar shock to lagging spring, a promise coming swift. Across treed border rich and poor, lift up voices now and gazes, in thanks for all these gifts and more, join in singing Maple's praises. Canoe lesson. No sense there is to a canoe seat, surest way to tip and dip in an ice-cold lake. Comfort's lofty tease soon tells the lie, aloofness spurned left sputtering. But venture down on tender knees, hips low, the foregone seat mere incidental brace, with water lapping close, dip paddle gently, then, caressed and caressing, flow as one. Yonder, seaplane rising through the morning mist, loons scattering briefly in its wake, gliding back to their familiar dives, choosing to remain and not to follow. This child that day chose differently, in daydream taking eager wing, past road's end to uncommon lakes, glimpsing the serenely seldom seen. Grounded. To have Maine in one's blood is to know well the love of place, to feel the heart's tie with what lies noticed underfoot, to live apace. The gift of Maine seen from afar is that this love of place conveys, rooted even in the uprooted, wherever they wend their ways. No separation in the distance, just look down and see the fact. Every curve of earth traces surely back to the state's compelling tract. So know Maine to be close at hand, no matter where you roam. To honor the ground on which you stand is your instant passport home. That concludes this reading. I dedicate this poetry collection with love to Mom and Dad, who gave me wings and taught me to trust that although I might leave Maine, Maine would never leave me. If you enjoyed my poetry, you can find a lot more of it online at mainegirl.net. 3 of my collections are also available as paperbacks and ebooks on lulu.com and amazon.com. Thanks for listening. I wish you the joy of poetry.